Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, we have also talked to you guys about the complicated family dynamics in Yellowstone over the past few weeks and even months. Because the motivations of our characters are constantly shifting and it's hard for us to keep up, we came up with new theories every week. For instance, Beth and Jamie are multidimensional characters who can behave in thousands of different ways, so we could make a million videos about them. They still hate each other, but the fact that they used to care for each other makes their relationship a lot more complicated, and we love it. Numerous other Yellowstone characters share this trait. Take, for instance, Jamie and Casey. Once more, our relationship is very human and has a lot to think about. It's not as straightforward as declaring that they love or hate each other. Their dynamic is so fascinating because they simultaneously feel many things for one another. In a very similar way, John's relationships with all of his children and even his employees are very similar. Now, considering all of these relationships, you might think that Yellowstone is a show in which each character is written so well that it is easy to form interesting bonds between them. However, you are mistaken about that. In point of fact, it should come as no surprise that many characters in Yellowstone do not even have a relationship with one another. Exactly. We support this despite the fact that it is a bold assertion. Take, for instance, Jamie and Rip. What kind of relationship do these two have with one another? Even though there isn't much of a connection between the two, it's hard to tell what kind of connection there is. It is odd that Rip does not have a personal relationship with Jamie, despite the fact that he has been on the ranch for decades and is married to Beth. They only have one thing in common. They dislike one another because of how they see each other. However, we believe that in Part 2 of Yellowstone Season 5, this lack of personal connection between the two will likely change. How well probably doesn't go according to your expectations. It is not a secret that Beth despises Jamie completely. She was blaming him for her inability to have children, and she will never be able to forgive him for the things he has cost her. Bullying, insulting threats, and even blackmail, which is far from harmless, were all manifestations of this hatred prior to the first episode of Yellowstone Season 5. Nevertheless, they are not as harmful as murder, right? After the first part's final episode, we are at a point where Jamie is aware that Beth is planning to kill him and is planning a counterattack. In other words, we may witness the murders of two siblings in Part 2. Jamie's part now. Sarah has promised to speak with professionals on his behalf, so this will happen through her connections. These professionals will not only cause Beth's death, but also create the appearance of an accident. But things aren't likely to go as smoothly for Beth's side. Jamie informed Beth that her entire family, particularly Rip, was responsible for the majority of their enemies' deaths and their burial in a specific location outside of state jurisdiction. She basically found out that her husband was a killer. This would come as a huge shock, bewilderment, and blazing red flag to any normal woman, prompting her to flee that marriage. However, Beth will absolutely want Rip to kill Jamie as he did all of the family's enemies, so this is likely to be a big advantage for her. However, we cannot imagine Rip going against anything Beth wants from him, and we don't know about you. For some reason, Rip challenges Beth's desires. John would have no choice but to commit the crime if he were to stand by Beth. Through flashback scenes in the first part, we saw Rip's backstory and learned that John saved Rip from prison and was the reason he was so committed to John. Basically, John covered up Rip's accidental death and forced him to always be loyal to him and the ranch. Rip naturally accepted the offer in exchange. We believe that John and Beth will want him to kill Jamie, so he must have watched all of these for a specific reason. Naturally, in Part 2, since Jamie's speech to the Senate regarding John's impeachment has made their family drama public. It wouldn't be as simple to cover up Jamie's death as it would be to cover up all of the other murders. In contrast, we believe that this might even result in Rip's imprisonment. The question is, in the end, whether Beth would be willing to pay such a high price to save her father and the ranch. What do you think about this topic? Do you believe that Jamie will be killed by Rip? Or do you think the Duttons have other plans to harm him? Please share, like, and subscribe to the video, as well as let us know what you think in the comments section below. I appreciate your attention. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.